Hashtag the government form most retirees don't know exists. Imagine owning a home worth $600,000. The mortgage is gone. The title is fully in your name. From the outside, people assume you're financially secure. But late at night, you're lying awake wondering how you'll afford to repair the car, replace a broken hot water system, or cover rising living costs. This situation is more common than most people realize. Across Australia, hundreds of thousands of retirees are living with a strange contradiction. They are asset-rich but cash-poor. Their wealth exists almost entirely inside the value of their home, yet they can't access that value without making what feels like an impossible choice, selling the place they spent decades building their life around. What many of them don't realize is that a government program exists specifically for situations like this. It allows eligible retirees to access money tied up in their home while continuing to live there. For some people, it creates breathing room. For others, if misunderstood, it can create consequences that last for years. Today, we're breaking down exactly how the system works, who benefits from it, who should think carefully before applying, and why so many eligible Australians have never even heard of it. This is the Home Equity Access Scheme. Before we talk about rules and numbers, let me tell you a story. Last year at a community information session, a woman I'll call Maureen came in looking exhausted. She was 74. Her home was fully paid off and worth around $600,000. She had saved responsibly. She had lived carefully. But retirement wasn't unfolding the way she expected. Her superannuation had reduced faster than planned. She wasn't receiving much age pension because her assets placed her above the threshold. Then two expensive things happened at once. Her car needed repairs. Her hot water system failed. Individually, neither expense was catastrophic. Together, they created months of stress. She explained something that sounds familiar to many retirees. She said, "I have all this money locked inside my house, but I can't touch any of it without selling. And if I sell, where do I go?" That sentence captures the entire problem. A person can technically be wealthy while still struggling to pay everyday bills. And that's exactly the gap the Home Equity Access Scheme was designed to address. So what is it? At its simplest, the Home Equity Access Scheme is a government loan. It allows eligible older Australians to borrow against the value of their home or eligible Australian property. Think of it as a government-run reverse mortgage. You remain living in your home. You receive regular payments or approved lump sums. You do not have to make repayments while living there unless you choose to. The balance plus interest is generally repaid later when the property is sold or through the estate. That sounds simple, but the details matter. Eligibility generally begins at pension age. You must meet property requirements. And approval happens through Services Australia. What makes the scheme stand out is not simply access. It's the cost. Traditional reverse mortgage products often carry significantly higher interest rates. Government rates under this scheme have historically been lower. That difference becomes important because compound interest changes everything. The amount available depends on your circumstances. The scheme allows total income support up to a defined percentage above the maximum age pension rate. For some people receiving a full pension, that means adding extra income. For part pensioners, it can fill part of the gap. For self-funded retirees receiving no pension at all, it may provide a larger borrowing amount. When people hear the maximum annual figures, attention immediately spikes. Thousands of dollars becoming available without selling the house sounds almost too good to be true. And that's where caution becomes important, because this is not free money. It is not a government payment. It is not a benefit. It is debt secured against property. Every payment received today creates a balance that grows over time, and growth through compounding can become substantial. Imagine drawing regular payments for years. At first, the numbers seem manageable. Then interest compounds. Eventually, the amount owed becomes much larger than the original amount received. That doesn't automatically make the scheme bad. It simply means the trade-off must be understood. More comfort now, less home equity later. For some retirees, that trade-off makes complete sense. For others, preserving assets matters more. There is no universal answer. The right decision depends on age, health, spending needs. family priorities, and long-term expectations. One of the biggest emotional factors isn't mathematics. It's inheritance. Many parents quietly believe they should protect the family home at all costs. At the same time, many adult children quietly wish their parents would enjoy retirement instead of sacrificing comfort to preserve an inheritance. Those conversations often never happen until financial pressure forces them. When families finally discuss expectations openly, the answers are often surprising. Parents discover their children care more about their quality of life than the value of the estate. Children discover how much financial stress their parents have been hiding. Sometimes the conversation changes everything. For Maureen, that's exactly what happened. Instead of deciding alone, she spoke with her daughters. She expected resistance. She expected concern. Instead, they told her something she hadn't expected. They wanted her to be comfortable. They didn't want her sacrificing daily life to preserve every dollar of equity. That conversation became more important than the loan itself. She explored her options. She reviewed the numbers. She considered a modest amount rather than the maximum available. Enough to fix what needed fixing. Enough to reduce financial stress. Enough to feel secure again. And that's where this story becomes less about policy and more about a broader lesson. Sometimes financial flexibility already exists, but people never use it because they don't know it exists or because they're afraid to ask questions. Programs like this are tools, not solutions. A hammer is useful in the right situation and destructive in the wrong one. The same principle applies here. Before making any decision, understanding the rules matters more than the headline numbers.